Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're going to dig into something really interesting. The World Bank's 2024 World Development Report.
Yeah, this report is pretty in-depth.
It talks about how developing nations can reach that next level, becoming a high-income country, and how to avoid getting stuck along the way.
Right, like they hit a wall.
Exactly. They call it the middle income trap.
It's a thing, for sure.
So what's the report's take on this?
Well, it's not just about whether countries can escape this trap.
It's more about how, right?
Exactly. And they've got this whole framework, these I strategies. 3 of them, actually.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me. What's the first I?
First up, you've got invest. It's all about building that solid foundation.
Makes sense. You got to start somewhere.
Exactly. Think infrastructure, basic industries, the building blocks. Like, you can't build a skyscraper without a strong base, right?
Solid analogy. So what's I number 2?
This is where things get interesting. It's infuse.
Infuse, huh? Sounds intense.
It's about bringing in outside knowledge, technology, expertise, upgrading what you've already built.
So learning from those who've been there, done that.
Precisely. Like, think about South Korea back in the 1950s. They were still recovering from the war, GDP per capita way lower than, say, the U.S. But they embraced this infused strategy. Look at figure 1.2 in the report. Their growth was incredible.
Okay, that's impressive. But I'm guessing there's more to it than just importing the latest gadgets.
You're right on the money. The third I, and this is the big one, is innovate.
Ah, so you don't just want to use the technology, you want to create it.
Exactly. You become the innovator, pushing boundaries. That's when you truly break free.
But that jump from infuse to innovate,
Hmm.
that's got to be the toughest hurdle, right?
For sure. And the report dives into some of the common traps. One of the biggest, lack of skilled labor. You can have all the fancy tech in the world, but without people who can actually use EAT, you're not going anywhere.
It's like having a state-of-the-art music studio but not knowing how to play an instrument.
Exactly. The report makes it clear. Talent drives economic progress. And it's not just about having talented individuals. It's about creating a system that nurtures that talent.
So education, opportunities, social mobility, all of that comes into play.
100%. You need a system where people can climb that economic ladder based on their abilities, not just their background.
So even if a country nails the invest and infuse stages, if they don't have that supportive environment for talent.
They hit a wall. And that's where a lot of countries get stuck.
Fascinating stuff. So are there any countries that have managed to navigate all 3 I's successfully?
Oh, absolutely. And the report highlights some really compelling examples.
Well, let's hear them. Give me some success stories. Okay, so who are these economic rock stars? Give me some inspiration.
Well, you know how we talked about South Korea and their infuse strategy? They took it even further. They used these clever subsidies, right?
Okay, yeah, I remember.
First, they encouraged companies to adopt foreign technology, but then, and this is the brilliant part, they shifted those subsidies.
Shifted them. How do you mean?
They started incentivizing homegrown research and development. So instead of just using other countries' tech, they were pushing their own companies to innovate.
Wow, they were practically guiding their industries up the innovation ladder step by step. Were there other countries that use this approach?
Yeah, actually, Poland's another great example. They really embraced this idea of creative destruction.
Creative destruction.
Yeah.
Sounds kind of intense.
It can be, but basically it means being willing to shake things up, even if it means disrupting existing industries to make way for something better.
Okay, I'm all for progress, but that sounds risky. Do you have a specific example?
Yeah, so Poland, they had this state-owned telecommunications company, big player, but not exactly known for cutting-edge innovation.
Gotcha. So what did they do?
They took a deep breath and privatized it, opened it up to competition.
Wow, that's a bold move. Did it pay off?
Big time. Competition forced everyone in the industry to up their game. Prices went down for consumers, service got better, innovation skyrocketed, and they also followed some of South Korea's playbook, attracting foreign investment, prioritizing education.
Smart. So they were attracting new ideas, building up their workforce. It sounds like they were hitting all the right notes.
Exactly. They went from a struggling post-communist economy to a major player in the EU, a real success story.
Creative destruction.
Mm-hmm.
More like creative reconstruction, right? Turning something outdated into something amazing.
I like that. But it's important to remember the world these countries were operating in back then was different. We've got new challenges today, right? Climate change, global uncertainty.
Yeah, for sure. The stakes seem even higher now. Does the report even address these modern-day hurdles?
Oh, absolutely. And this is where it gets really insightful. The report argues that these challenges, while daunting, they also present unique opportunities.
Interesting. So it's like, don't just weather the storm, find a way to come out stronger.
Exactly. For example, let's talk about the climate crisis. This huge shift towards a greener economy, new technologies, new skills.
It's like a whole new playing field.
Right. And the report suggests that middle-income countries, they actually have a chance here, instead of playing catch-up with old polluting industries.
They can become leaders in these new, clean technologies.
Exactly. Think renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, green manufacturing. The report even highlights how some countries are already making big moves in renewable energy.
Wow, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But it can't be easy to make that shift, right?
What does the report say about the role of government in all of this? Well, this is where the idea of contestability comes in.
Contestability. Okay, you're going to have to break that one down for me.
Basically, it means making sure markets are open and competitive, and not just domestically, but internationally too. The report argues that one of the biggest mistakes a country can make is trying to shield their industries from competition.
Interesting. So no more coddling those domestic companies.
Right. It's about pushing them to innovate, to become more efficient. A little healthy competition can go a long way.
I see what you mean, but I can also see how that could backfire, especially if you have these big state-owned enterprises.
Ah, yes. The SOEs, the report actually has a whole section on those.
Oh, and what's the verdict?
Well, they point out that because these SOEs are often shielded from the need to make a profit.
They don't have the same drive to innovate as a private company would.
Exactly. They might not adopt new technologies as quickly, even if those technologies are cleaner and more efficient.
So they can actually hold back progress.
In some cases, yeah. The report even highlights examples of SOEs in the energy sector that have resisted the shift to renewables.
Because it threatens their current business model.
Exactly. It's tough. But the report's point is that it's not always about getting rid of SOEs entirely. It's about making sure they're not allowed to stifle innovation.
So making them play by the same rules as everyone else.
Exactly. Holding them accountable, making them transparent, and making sure they face real consequences if they're not operating efficiently.
So it's about creating a system that benefits the whole country, not just a select few.
That's the idea. And speaking of benefiting the whole country, the report also emphasizes this other crucial aspect, the human factor.
Right, we talked about education earlier. What else is there?
Think about it, right? Even if a country gets all the other stuff right, the investment, the tech, the policies, they're still missing out on a huge chunk of their potential.
If they don't invest in their people?
Bingo. It's about creating a system where everyone, regardless of their background, has a real shot at success.
Equal opportunities, social mobility, breaking down those barriers.
Exactly. The report argues that things like unequal access to education, gender disparities in the workforce, discrimination, these all hold countries back.
So it's about social justice as much as it is about economics.
100%. They go hand in hand. The report actually makes a really strong case for that.
So we've talked about these I strategies, creative destruction, education, social mobility. It's a lot. But how does it all fit together in the grand scheme of things?
Well, the report argues that these I strategies, invest, infuse, innovate, they're not just separate steps, it's more like a continuous cycle.
So countries that escape the middle income trap, they're the ones who figure out how to keep that cycle going.
Exactly. But then there's the whole issue of navigating the future, right?
Right. The world's changing so fast. What's the report's take on dealing with all this uncertainty?
They actually suggest that these big global challenges, they also create opportunities.
Interesting. So it's like turning a crisis into a catalyst.
Precisely. They use this phrase, using crises as catalysts for change. Like with climate change, right? This huge push for a greener economy. It's a chance for some countries to become leaders in those new industries.
Instead of playing catch up with outdated tech.
Exactly. They can kind of leapfrog ahead.
That's a really optimistic way to look at it. But realistically, not every country is going to be ready to make that leap, are they?
It's true. It takes guts,
Yeah.
vision, political will. But the potential payoffs are huge.
So the message I'm getting here is that the middle income trap, it's not inevitable.
Right.
It's a challenge, for sure, but it's surmountable.
Absolutely. And that's what I think makes this report so powerful. It's not just, here's the data, good luck. It's more like a call to action,
I like that. So any final thoughts for our listeners? Something to chew on after they finish listening.
Sure. The report argues that we're on the edge of another technological revolution. Green technologies, sustainable development. That's the future. The question is, will your country be a consumer or a leader?
That's a powerful question. It's a reminder that we have a say in shaping the future. Well, on that note, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. We've covered a ton of ground, but this is really just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole world of knowledge out there just waiting to be explored. Until next time.